Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Terminator Genisys. That's my Arnold impression. So Terminator Genisys is the 5th movie in the ever so famous Terminator movie franchise. Okay, this may be shocking to some people, but I've only seen each of those films once. I'm not too attached to this film series. The first one was good, the second one was awesome. The third one, the fourth one, no. And this one is really the first one that we have in this new technological age with motion capture technology and visuals and films just look amazing for the most part. So how is this movie? In a word, awesome, for someone who's not emotionally attached to the film series. So in Terminator Genisys, we have this giant global war going on. The world is pretty much destroyed because it's been taken over by Skynet and the Terminators. It's kind of like the beginning of X-Men Days of Future Past. So the leader of the human resistance, John Connor, sends Sergeant Kyle Reese back to 1984 to protect his mother, Sarah Connor, from the Terminator that was sent back to kill her in like the first movie. It's pretty confusing if you're new to the Terminator franchise. In the first movie, the T-800 Terminator was sent back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor. So now in this movie, Kyle Reese is sent back to 1984 to protect her from this Terminator. Hopefully it makes sense now. Only when he gets there, things get strange because it turns out that this T-800 has actually been protecting her. It's essentially a new timeline. This movie gets pretty complex with all these timelines and who's a good guy and who's a bad guy, but for me, it was pretty easy to keep up with it all. All the characters in this movie were just so badass. We all know that Arnold is pretty much a legend at this point. Really, I don't think he needs any more money, but I liked him in this movie. He was funny and he was a badass, and his lines were just the best in the film. He was almost the comic relief, but he definitely served as more than that. Jai Courtney as Kyle Reese, he's pretty much the main character in the film, and he was awesome also. He's easy to relate to because, like us, he's shocked about this new different timeline. But once he's in the game, he gets into mode, he is in there. He's a soldier, so you know how they can get. Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor, first of all, she is super hot. She's Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, but she's a badass in this movie as well. This Sarah Connor has been training with the T-800 since she was a kid, so she's staunch, she's cold, she knows what to do, but she feels like she's trapped in a box. You know, she feels like her fate has already been laid out for her because of all the time travel that's been going on in this franchise, so she already knows about all this shit. She was easy to relate to as well. And Jason Clarke as John Connor, I don't want to talk too much about him, so I'm not going to. He was awesome though. Now, it's pretty much a given that the visuals in this movie were excellent. I mean, I saw all those Terminators in the trailers and they looked like real machines that actually physically exist. You don't really see them too much in this movie, but what you do have is you got a T-1000 in here. T-1000 is the liquid metal Terminator that debuted in Terminator 2 and just blew everyone's minds back in 1991. Back then, CGI was still a new thing, so seeing the T-1000 now in this new modern technological age, yeah, he looks great. And the action scenes where he's just throwing down with the T-800 are badass and they are very entertaining to watch. This movie really is a non-stop action-packed thrill ride from beginning to end. It's not mindless action either. It's awesome stunt work, awesome practical effects, stuff that just makes you go, whoa! Don't worry though, there is still a story in this movie and it's solid. I don't want to talk about it too much though because I think I would end up spoiling some of it. Isn't that how most of these Terminator movies are? Just know that it's a good, solid, strong film. Bear with me on this, but if this were the only film in the franchise, like none of the other movies ever existed and this is the first that we saw of this world, this movie would still be a pretty solid action movie. As it stands though, it's still badass. I really didn't know what to expect when I was walking into this movie. I didn't know if I was going to like it or hate it, but I love this movie and now I want to go back and watch the first 2 movies again. So I will say, go see this movie right now! Just like Jurassic World, this movie had some of the best action I've seen this year. So Terminator Genisys, have you seen it? How does it compare with the other Terminator movies for you? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.